The man, Edgar, smiled a cruel, thin smile. In his hands he held an hourglass, its frame crafted from obsidian, the sand within a glint of silver. Edgar sought a prize, a young girl with eyes like forget-me-nots, oblivious to the darkness that festered in his heart. He planned to steal her away, keep her for himself. But first he needed a disguise, a mask of innocence. He flipped the hourglass. Silver sand trickled down, a tangible manifestation of time bending to his will. His skin tightened, his bones creaked, his vision blurred. A wave of nausea washed over him, the price of his dark magic. He crumpled to the floor, his body racked with pain, his mind screaming. When it finally subsided, he looked down at his hands, small, soft, the hands of a child. His reflection in the mirror was both familiar and alien. The cruel glint in his eyes remained, but now it was framed by a child's face, a monstrous juxtaposition. He practiced his new voice, high and sweet, a horrifying melody to anyone who knew the truth. The transformation was complete. He was ready. The park was alive with children's laughter. Edgar, his disguise flawless, sat alone on a swing, subtly manipulating his features into a mask of youthful dejection. His prey, a little girl named Lily, approached him, her face etched with concern. He had been observing her for weeks, learning her routines, her likes and dislikes. He knew her favorite color was blue, her favorite animal a rabbit. He had crafted a persona to appeal to her innocent heart. "Why are you sad?" Lily asked, her voice full of childish empathy. "I'm new here," Edgar replied, his voice a perfect imitation of childhood shyness. "I don't have any friends." And so began their twisted friendship. Edgar, with his adult cunning hidden behind a child's facade, easily gained Lily's trust. He showered her with attention, told her fantastical stories, brought her little gifts. He became her confidant, her playmate, all the while weaving a web of dependence around her, drawing her closer to the darkness that lurked beneath his borrowed youth. He waited for the perfect moment when her guard was down, when her trust in him was absolute. The opportunity presented itself sooner than he expected. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Edgar's heart pounded against his ribs. His plan had been discovered. He knew the authorities were closing in on him. Panic seized him. He had to escape, but he couldn't risk being seen as an adult with a child. He glanced at Lily, her innocent eyes wide with fear, an unwitting pawn in his game of deception. He grabbed her hand, his grip surprisingly strong for a child. "Don't worry," he whispered, his voice strained. "I'll protect you." He dragged her towards the back of the park, his eyes darting around, searching for an escape route, but it was too late. 2 police officers, their faces grim, appeared, blocking their path. Edgar's mind raced. He had to act fast. He pulled out the hourglass, clutching it tightly. "It's now or never," he muttered under his breath. Lily watched, bewildered, as he flipped the hourglass once more. The transformation was even more brutal this time. His bones seemed to liquefy, his vision shrank to a pinpoint. The pain was unbearable, but he dared not scream. Then, oblivion. He collapsed onto the grass. The last thing he saw, the horrified faces of the police officers as his body reverted to that of a helpless infant. Section 4. Innocence found, innocence lost. He awoke in a strange crib, his vision blurry, his mind a chaotic jumble of fragmented memories. He tried to remember who he was, what he had done, but the harder he strained, the further the memories slipped away. He was left with a vast, echoing emptiness. He could no longer recall the man he had been, the evil he had planned. The world was a kaleidoscope of new sights and sounds. Faces swam into view and disappeared again. Gentle hands lifted him, held him close, whispering soothing words he couldn't understand. He felt a strange sense of peace, a comforting warmth he had never known before. He was a blank slate, a vessel emptied of its darkness. He was innocent, but it was a cruel, stolen innocence, purchased at the cost of his very identity. The irony was lost on him. Section 5. The Hourglass's Final Grain. Lily's parents, their faces etched with grief and compassion, decided to foster the baby the police had found in the park. They had lost their own infant son months earlier, and something about this child with his wide, innocent eyes touched a chord within them. They named him Daniel. And so the man who had sought to steal their daughter, to keep her prisoner in his own twisted world, became the newest member of her family. He would grow up loved and cherished, his dark past erased, his sinister intentions nothing more than fading echoes in the recesses of his mind. The hourglass lay forgotten, the last grain of silver sand having trickled down long ago. The man named Edgar was no more, consumed by his own dark magic, his fate a tragic, ironic twist of the very destiny he had sought to impose on another. The hourglass had granted him a second chance at innocence, but at a price far greater than he could have ever imagined.